are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. First of all, to standardize the population, to iron out inconvenient human differences, to create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system. A number of the predictions, which were purely fantastic when I made them 30 years ago, have come true or seem in process of coming true. That a number of techniques about which I talk seem to be here already, and that there seems to be a general movement in the direction of this kind of ultimate revolution, this method of control by which people can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Howard Nima. Thank you for watching Truth Talk News here on truthbroadcastnetwork.com. It's Wednesday, July 30th, 2014. And what's really been on my mind lately is this whole bioweapon Ebola situation. First of all, we have the on record that you have the Doctors Without Borders going around trying to assist in this operation. Meanwhile, it's spread since March. If you recall, David Rockefeller's son was killed June 13th, Friday the 13th of this year, in a plane crash at Westchester County Airport in New York near the Rockefeller estate. He was heading back to the other compound in Seal Harbor, Maine, when the crash occurred. Interestingly enough, it occurred on a full moon on Friday the 13th. How nice. It's always fun. Take with that what you will. But this Ebola thing is really a problem because there's a history here. Now, you got to see what this thing looks like. First of all, this thing is pretty ugly looking. I mean, that's what it looks like. And that's what we're dealing with. That's the enemy. Now, the enemy was cooked up in a laboratory, probably at Fort Detrick in the 50s. I have a book here written by Gordon Thomas. I've referred to it a lot. Secrets and Lies, A History of CIA Torture and Bioweapons Experiments. And a couple of little pieces I thought would be appropriate here, and then another couple of things. So there's a lot of great information here we're going to go about just this subject for the whole broadcast. We're going to talk about bioweapons. We're going to talk about that being the potential threat. Now, I mean, they have so many threats. We have the border issue, which opens the door to all sorts of terrorism, a nuclear threat, a biological threat now because people are sick, economic collapse. I mean, God, it could be a perfect storm. They could all happen to make sure that this thing happens and that they can get in their world government and take over. And the UN's already down there on our borders right now, doing their humanitarian assistance. I'm just astounded. I don't even want to bash Obama. Everyone in the media is bashing him because he deserves to be bashed. He should be impeached. But that's not important right now. We know he's not going to get impeached. He wants this type of publicity. He's playing this whole thing. So let's forget about Obama. He's a treasonous puppet. He's just doing what the New World Order wants. Let's worry about Ebola. Let's worry about the virus. Because people are dying. Over 660 people, I think, have died already. Many of the doctors are dying. It's actually going through their bio coats. But the fact of the matter is that they've been moving around Africa since this has been happening, and the disease has been spreading as these people come. And they're not as dumbed down as the Americans are here because they don't have TV and all these other accoutrements to distract us from thinking. So what they've realized is that these men, when they come in the white coats to run with the needles for the vaccines, and I'm going to go over documented evidence, overwhelming evidence that AIDS was a bioweapon, is a bioweapon, and they use it through vaccines. And this is the way they're moving. This is the way Ebola spread. It didn't come from some fruit bat, or whatever nonsense that they're talking about. But getting here to first back to this book, page 10. Yeah. All right. This book makes the case that agencies of the United States government have engaged in a systematic assault on the human psyche, seeking to find a way to control human behavior. And at the same time, they have created and tested weapons for germ warfare, weapons that were later given to Saddam Hussein when he was in favor in Washington. These sinister activities highlight the lack of accountability in the most powerful democratic nation on earth, a nation whose system of laws, its president, is under oath to protect. Does that sound like something that we could use here, right? Many powerful interests, this is the people that own the government, believe it is essential that the full and untold story of this secret history of the CIA and its germ warfare programs be kept secret. On September 11, 2001, was the start of what George Bush called the First World War of the 21st century, following the total destruction of the World Trade Center and part of the Pentagon. The question uppermost in everyone's mind was what would follow next. The answer was not long in coming. In October, a wave of anthrax cases appeared across an already stunned and terrified nation. Anthrax is easy to spread, like Ebola, and has a mortality rate of almost 100% unless it's discovered sufficiently early to be treated with antibiotics. Ebola has no treatment. Was it a follow-up attack by Al-Qaeda? Of course not. It was the CIA. That's part one. So we're going to get from that page, and then I had another clip I wanted to take out of here. Page 48 to, I think, 51. Here. It's, okay, yeah, they used... they infected bugs. They used all different types of microbes. Frank Olson, who again was thrown out of the window, most likely by George White, of a hotel room and plunged to his death after being dosed on LSD a week or so before. It's a long story, but they killed him because he was going to talk about all the stuff he does. He created bioweapons for the military. That was his position. That was his duty. And they did some horrible things with the mind control, trying to do this MK Ultra project, which he was at the beginning of. And not that he was happy about it either. And I think that's what led to his death. But I don't want to digress. But all of these biological weapons arrived at Dr. Gottlieb's office on December 5th. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb was the head of the Special Operations Unit of the CIA for MK Ultra. Was a secret memo from the Department of Defense Committee on Biological Weapons. It asked for guidance in the search for evidence of the immunity against disease from biological weapons by enemy deserters and prisoners of war. And what they did was they were trying to find out ways that they could have create new weapons that they can use against South Korea, against North Korea at the time. We were at war with North Korea, if you recall. And they came up with all of these attacks. First, they used a bioweapon there, and the ship was reported to have been struck with an outbreak of amoebic dysentery among the prisoners. And after they were sent with their first attack there from Fort Detrick's laboratories at the very core of America's secret biological warfare program, Olson's first job was to develop the new unit's capability to work alongside the CIA's Fort Detrick. So that's what he was doing. And in Koji Island in South Korea, a U.S. Navy landing craft fitted out as a laboratory by Unit 406 arrived offshore. Dr. Gottlieb was on board. The ship was reported there to have an outbreak, of course, as I said, of the dysentery. And in the following months, almost 20,000 prisoners were affected with the illness and 1,800 died. So they've been using bioweapons for a long time. And it's known that they sprayed the subways with bioweapons in the 1960s in New York. This has all come out. This is not new news at all. But what's also important to look at is that this Ebola outbreak. Here, let me get to the meat of the matter here with the Ebola outbreak. There's this situation going on. Let me move this stuff out of the way. Where's the Ebola guy? There he is. All right, so yeah, put this over here. Yeah, so I'll give a little key out here. Now, in New Guinea, or actually Guinea is the actual name of the town, ladies and gentlemen, Guinea, Africa, well, that's the area. 8 youths armed with slingshots and machetes stood warily alongside a dirt road at the opening to the High Reeds. The deadly Ebola virus is believed to have infected several people in the village, and the youths were blocking the path to prevent health workers from entering. So they're not letting the health workers in, Doctors Without Borders, because, of course, they do spread disease. They poison these. It's all a depopulation plan through the United Nations and the World Health Organization. It's outrageous but true. And so far, it was first detected in March, as I had mentioned, and it killed more than 660 people. Hostile mobs are out there and surrounding the vehicles. Workers and officials are blamed by panicked populations for spreading the virus. So they're saying that the panicked populations are spreading the virus, but really what they're doing is they're not allowing these genocidal eugenicists to come and inoculate them with further diseases that will kill them. This is the population. This is what they're planning. I've gone over this before. I've discussed this many times. There is a depopulation agenda, and we're going to get into the root of that. I can go into actually in a minute with a couple of passages from the Club of Rome. Aurelio Passet and Alexander King founded the Club of Rome in 1968 to deal with the population problem, and that's what we're dealing with here. This is all part of this whole thing. So in this rural area, 400 miles from the capital, was where this is where it first came out, and it was mostly hard hit. 80% of the infected had died, so it's pretty deadly. And the Red Cross and all these people are being pushed away. I have a clip about that. Let me get you that clip here. Hold on. Too many open windows here. Okay. Apparently they're letting me alone. Last night I had 3 windows open and everything was freezing up, and now I have 10 windows open and there's no problem. Strange, isn't it? Okay. Where is it? I have it right here. Ebola. Here it is. Yes. Yeah, this is a little clip I put together. I think it'll illuminate you. Here, villagers watched as workers from the international aid group Doctors Without Borders finished disinfecting a clinic in Teldao, Guinea. An Ebola epidemic has killed at least 660 people in 3 West African countries since it was first detected in March. Members of the World Health Organization and the Red Cross handed out disinfectant and soap to villagers in Bawa, Guinea. There is no known cure for Ebola, which causes raging fever, vomiting, uncontrolled bleeding, and diarrhea, and in up to 9 cases out of 10, rapid death. This part of Guinea, known as the Forest Region, where over 200 people have already died from Ebola, is known for its strong belief in traditional religion. Health workers and officials are often blamed by panicked populations for spreading the virus, and in fact, they have. They are indeed spreading this virus through the vaccines. Addressing villagers this month in Bawa, where a woman had just died, the regional prefect from Gukedo, Muhammad Sink Keita, in the center there, warned, "There is no root, no leaf, no animal that can cure you. Don't be fooled."